It's Friday, April 28th, 2017. I'm your host, Sarah Mantle. We have a great show in store for you today. First up, we're going to learn about the upcoming Festival of Museums during our Arts and Culture segment. Then we're going to chat with Sandy Neck Beach Park manager Nina Coleman. And finally, we'll find out what's happening at the Hyannis Youth and Community Center with General Manager Joe Izzo. All of that on this episode of Barnstable Today. But first, let's go ahead and get a look at today's top headlines. A project to improve Osterville Bay Fields moves forward. Town Council unanimously approved spending $675,000 for the Osterville Recreation Building and Design Construction Project. Town Council also voted to pass a moratorium on recreational marijuana shops and marijuana establishments until December of 2018. Changes to the Gateway Medical District in Hyannis were also approved. That measure will allow more business uses in the area surrounding the hospital and was proposed by the Barnstable Economic Development Commission. The Growth Management Department is teaming up with the Cape Cod Art Association to offer artists a unique retreat on Sandy Neck Beach.
Rehabbed the structure and now we're using it for nonprofit groups to come out here and use it as a base for either educational purposes. Certainly environmental education is a really great use of it, and then these artist groups have been coming out for a number of years now, so it's sort of morphed into, I think it's always maintained the use requirement when it was initially given to the town. It's always had a really productive and constructive use. It's just sort of morphed into this new place, and it's beautiful. It's wonderful. People love it coming out here. I hear about it for years and years after they come out and enjoy this place.
I was just talking to someone earlier, and they were saying their photographs aren't even capturing what it is that we're looking at. The colors just are amazing to stand here. And I always find that when I paint on location, when I'm working on the painting, I'm trying to bring in what I'm actually feeling and seeing. So it's not necessarily to capture it as a photographic image, but to be able to put a little bit of myself into it. And I think if you're standing in the location as opposed to looking at a photograph, you're just one step closer to it. It's just, it's a wonderful feeling.
Up next, we're going to chat with First Citizens Federal Credit Union President and CEO Peter Muse. He's going to tell us all about the upcoming Festival of Museums. So Peter, thank you so much for joining me today. One thing that I had no knowledge of before meeting you is the Cape Cod Museum Trail. Tell me a little bit about the Cape Cod Museum Trail.
Well, I want you to know that I apologize that you didn't know about it. That's our fault, that we're not getting enough information out. But the Cape Cod Museum Trail is a website. It's a virtual trail of the museums on Cape Cod. And I ask this question of everybody, whether you're on the Cape or off the Cape, when you say, how many museums do you think there are on Cape Cod? And people come up with the JFK Museum right next door, and the Heritage Museum, and several others. And I said, but give me an idea what you think the number would be. And we get around 10, 12, 15, whatever it happens to be.
That would have probably been my guess.
And it's a reasonable guess, because when we started it, that's all I thought. But we have now put up our 62nd museum on the website. And I say this to everybody, is definitions of museums can be tight or a little liberal. And I think when we talk about the cultural side of it, you want to be a little liberal. And so the 62nd museum has gone up, and we run this spectrum from the Heritage Museum in Sandwich to the other end, which is the Dennis Mann's House in Dennis, which is open 2 days a week in the summertime and run by volunteers and funded out of the town budget. So if you take a spectrum like that, you can put a lot in the middle. And we come up with different ones. I believe the 62nd one was the Sturgis Library, which in itself is a museum piece. It's absolutely a museum piece. There are a lot of historic societies on Cape Cod, and several of them have their own buildings, and others are in the process of acquiring. So in a way, I consider those museums as well. So there is quite the spectrum of where it goes. Now, if you consider that word museum and then add into that art galleries, museums in their own right, you have cultural centers, as we have right here in Hyannis, another one down in Yarmouth. So they are galleries as well, is where some of the stuff goes, some of the programs go. So it's been a, and I say that now just when I ask you how many, because when we started the program 3 years ago, certainly, you know, we could start out with 12 museums, and it's easy enough to be able to print a map and even print business cards with the map on it. And then when 12 went to 16 and 16 went to 24 and 24 went to, you can't keep printing new maps. It's just impossible. So it's 100% virtual on the website, CapeCodMuseumTrail.com.
Which is great. It's a great resource for individuals who, even if you've lived here, obviously you asked me how many museums are there, and I came nowhere near the guess at the number. So this is even great for whether you're a tourist visiting our area for the first time, or even if you're an individual who just wants to explore your own neck of the woods, because we can learn so much more about it. I'm excited too, you're actually having a festival of museums. I'm excited to learn more about this event. This is happening May 6th at the Hyannis Youth and Community Center. Tell me a little bit about the Festival of Museums.
Well, what we use the museum trail for is to create the awareness of what's available on Cape Cod and the culture, and making it easy, just as you said, for folks to find out what's going on. The Festival of Museum, this is our first. You're absolutely right, over the community center, and we have at this point in time it's 51 exhibitors. We have room for 60, so we're getting pretty close to the end. 35 of the museums have taken space, and if you've ever been to an exhibit hall type effect, that's what it is. So everybody has a table and chairs, and they can bring whatever they have that identifies that museum. There's a marketing subcommittee that we've created from the museum trail. All the executive directors and the folks from the museum, we get together. We try to get together every other month and just talk about the museum trail. And from that has developed a marketing subcommittee. And two things that the marketing subcommittee did was the past 2 Septembers have become Cape Cod Museum Month. And we create, again, the awareness. Well, they wanted to do something a little different, and these shoulder months, right? And you're very familiar with that down the Cape, the tourism and then the shoulder months. That helps out a lot in the shoulder month of September, though they don't need a lot of help. September is wonderful on the Cape, am I right?
It's my favorite month.
It's tremendous. Going into the season, so we plan this for May. We will bring down, admission is free, open to the public, everybody come. We have been advertising off Cape. We have a billboard on Route 195 in New Bedford that we use a lot for First Citizens. We put the Festival of Museums on it. It's in a lot of the local newspapers. It has been on radio, pretty well advertised for on Cape and off Cape. And again, it's to create the awareness. So the museums will come and they'll do their exhibiting and things along those lines. But we also have built in opportunity for some speakers and some events.
And those speakers, I have got to tell you, are very exciting. I can't wait. Some of the events you have lined up. Tell me a little bit about Anthony Amore.
Anthony Amore is the author of the latest museum on, and folks around here will remember the Gardner Museum heist. Multi-million dollars worth of paintings that were stolen that night and have never been recovered. So it is considered to be the world's greatest art heist, and it's never been recovered. So he has theories, and he's coming down, and he's wrote a book, and he's coming down to talk about that. I think it blends in very well for the Festival of Museums.
Absolutely.
As one of the speakers.
And I like too how the Festival of Museums has really included events that adults can appreciate, so I think I'd love to hear him speak and tell about that. But then there are also really fun activities for the kids. There's a Lego challenge and a yo-yo guy coming, so really a fun time for everybody.
So who doesn't play with Legos, right? So you see it, with children, grandchildren, whatever it is, and I know that another event coming up on the Cape from the Home Builders and Renovators, they have their annual Lego building contest. So this might be a practice run for some folks. Now the yo-yo guys. So I'm very interested in this for a couple of reasons. One is I don't see a lot of kids with yo-yos unless it's video yo-yos. But it's a skill. It's a tremendous skill. And I'm very interested to see, is that going to draw the kids or is that going to draw the adults?
Yeah, who knows?
I mean, it could be very, very, very talented.
Well, we're very excited about the event. Thank you so much for joining us and telling us everything we need to know. We can go, what is the website to learn more information?
The website, it's very easy and it just carries on. CapeCodMuseumTrail.com.
Wonderful.
And when you go there, you'll see the Festival Museum, that event, and you just continue down to what it actually is, the museum trail with the 62 museums and listing of all the events.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining me and telling me all about it today.
Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it very much.
Pleasure to meet you. My guest today, Peter Muse. He is the president and CEO of First Citizens Federal Credit Union. So we're going to talk to Sandy Neck Beach Park manager. So Nina, some very exciting news. Thank you for joining us today. I'm excited to learn this. I know a lot of work has gone into looking at regulations in the state and federal government that you have to deal with a lot of times related to piping plovers. They are part of the Endangered Species Act, which means you can't move them, you can't move nests, you can't do anything like that. And so it really did create a lot of beach closures, off-road closures for you guys. But you actually have some good news for us.
I do have some good news. We have been working for a number of years to obtain a permit that's going to help with some flexibility with managing plovers. It's not a silver bullet. We're not going to suddenly have the entire beach open, but it is going to help in some specific situations. So what started in 2014 was actually the state of Massachusetts, and a lot of people think that it's just regulations with them, but they actually were the lead. Natural Heritage Endangered Species was actually the lead on obtaining a statewide permit called the Section 10 permit, which allowed in certain situations some flexibility in plover and tern management.
So it's a statewide thing, and then you jumped on that as the beach park manager for Sandy Neck. You wanted to be included in that. What will this allow you to do?
Okay, so then once they obtained those statewide, we started for what's called a certificate of inclusion. So the town of Barnstable applied to be part of that permit, and the activities that we requested through the permit are, the first part of it has to do with plovers. The first section of beach, Sarah, I know you come to our beach, but as you, it all has to do with off-road, not the public beach, but as you pull onto the off-road beach, that first section of beach is been designated a recreation zone. Now you may not know this, but every year there's a pair of plovers poking around thinking about nesting right there. And if they nest, which they haven't in the last few years, the last time they nested there was 2013, if they nest, we have a complete beach closure. That's no way to run a beach, never knowing what's going to happen. So we created a recreation zone where we can actually deter plover nesting. We're not going to harm the birds. There's plenty other places for them to go.
How do you deter them?
Well, we required under the law prior to this permit, we're required to provide them habitat with fencing, and we're actually able to reduce that fencing, so making it less attractive. We're also able to actually go in as plovers. I know we have a slide here, but plovers nest right in the sand, and we're actually able to put something down over that before the nest happens, and just sort of make it unattractive for them to move elsewhere.
So here we're looking at it, and looking at this picture, Nina, I can't tell you where the nest is. I can't find it. I have no idea where it is.
I know. I hope this makes you appreciate how hard it is to find these nests in the spring.
And imagine how this is how nature works, right? They are specifically it's purposeful that they blend right into the environment. I couldn't tell you where the nest is, and of course we can zoom in closer and find it. There it is.
Yep, that's a fire nest.
Kind of tough to find.
kind of tough to find. Piping plovers use the camouflage. Other birds have different ways of defending their nest, like putting it up in a tree or actually physically defending a nest, but plovers go with the camouflage. So they try to make it as much like the rest of the environment as possible. They make a little scrape in the sand. They actually decorate the scrape with some shells. You can see that picture there. That's a beautifully decorated nest, if you will, with those little white shells. And then they lay, that's a full clutches for eggs. And it's right where the people want to be. That's the problem, isn't it? That's why they end up on the front page of the newspaper all the time. These nests are right at the toe of the dune. Very difficult to find and very heavily protected. So everything we do with nests, starting from when the plovers come in the spring and start pairing up, everything we do is dictated by the Endangered Species Act. So this permit allows us a little bit of flexibility in that, and the cost benefit of that, if you will, the benefit is that we have insurance that will have a beach available, some beach available for patrons. And that seems like a really nice compromise. We're not going to cause this pair not to be able to reproduce. They're going to go elsewhere, and in exchange, the people are going to have an opportunity to recreate. And I think that's what this permit is trying to do, is balance that a little bit more.
So you said for sure that they will allow you to use some measures to deter them from nesting in certain areas. If they do go ahead and nest there for some reason, would you be able to move the nest, or is that still off limits?
The permit does allow moving a nest. We'd have to revise our permit. Right now it isn't set up that way. We're pretty confident. I've been doing this for a lot of years. I'm pretty confident we can achieve the goal without having to move the nest. But there is those provisions in the Section 10 permit. And then the other goal that we were trying to achieve through this process is that late season, and I believe you go out there late season, our beach is extremely popular. It's heavily congested with the campers. And so what happens is our beach stays at about 1.5 miles, even past Labor Day, because of a tern colony at Trail 2. So a couple of terns, chicks, are holding the whole beach closed. And so the other part of this permit is to do limited escorts past those terns for the campers. So by taking a big group of campers and putting them on the other side of that closure line, it makes it better for everybody.
Wonderful. So I like how you're just dealing with it, because you're just using nature, but you're keeping it there. You're just helping move around it, making sure it's safe, and trying to deter anyone from nesting in certain areas.
Right. It is trying to use nature. I think that this was a very long process, and a lot of scientists were involved, politicians, like the whole, everybody, stakeholders is the word I'm looking for. There's a lot of different perspectives put into this statewide permit so that each site with site-specific issues could address it in a way that was, again, the best cost-benefit analysis for the birds and the people, and also, was the most scientifically sound. So with regard to escorting past terns, you can't do that without this permit, but terns stay in place. Terns are up by the toe of the dune, up in that grassy area. So escorting past them is pretty safe. It's pretty doable if you know what you're doing. So again, we don't feel like we're going to negatively affect those birds. So we're really happy that we have the opportunity of making the people happy at the same time.
Making the people happy at the same time, making sure you're still protecting the animals that were intended to be protected from the Act, the Endangered Species Act.
That's correct.
Thank you so much for joining us today and telling us all about this. Great news, good work. Sometimes it takes a long time, but good results yield in the end of that.
Thank you very much, Sarah.
Thanks so much. Our guest today, Sandy Neck Beach Park Manager, Nina Coleman. The Hyannis Youth and Community Center is going to be bustling with activity this weekend. We're going to find out why with General Manager Joe Izzo. So Joe, so much happening at the Hyannis Youth and Community Center. First up, a Coast Guard hockey tournament is taking place this weekend. Tell me a little bit about this event.
Yeah, sure. It's the 23rd annual Commandant's Cup, and it's being hosted here at the HYCC. They've been here for the last 6 or 7 years here at the HYCC, and they use both rinks. The event actually started yesterday, Thursday, kind of midday, and They played a bunch of games yesterday, and they'll play a bunch of games today, and do their playoffs and their championships tomorrow on Saturday. So, yeah, it's a really cool event. The tournament is made up from predominantly guys. I think there are a few women sprinkled in on a couple of teams, but it's predominantly an adult men's hockey tournament, and the participants are all members of the United States Coast Guard. So they fly in from all over the country. I think the furthest team is coming from Alaska this year.
Wow.
So yeah, it's just a pretty awesome event. You know, the cool thing about it is that you know, these guys get together for a couple of tournaments throughout the year. So there's really, you know, it's not really cutthroat. These you know, the guys and the families are getting together and sort of hanging out and you know,
almost like a reunion.
Yeah,
it sounds
exactly.
like.
That's the kind of the word I was circling but couldn't quite get to. Yeah, it's really cool. They, you know, they'll do a silent auction and a family skate on Friday for, you know, spouses and children, and yeah, it's really just a kind of a reunion atmosphere, and it's a lot of fun, and it's really, you know, it can be humbling to be here in the building while the men and women come through, and you know, you just see them sort of in their downtime, but knowing in the back of our minds just all the great, incredible work that they do, not only here on Cape Cod, but pretty much throughout the entire country. So it's pretty awesome.
You know, so I know it's an event, of course, for these individuals, but can the public come watch if they wanted
Definitely.
to?
Yeah, absolutely. It's free and open to the public, and they do a silent auction as a fundraiser, and anyone can participate in that. And they do some different raffles and sell some different merchandise, hats and sweatshirts and that kind of stuff. So yeah, any and all are welcome to come and check it out. It's really cool event. And the guys and gals play hard, and it's definitely entertaining.
So awesome, I think. And they come here to the HYCC every year.
Yeah, they do. They've been. I believe this is going to be their 7th year here in our building. So we're thrilled to have them back year after year, and they put on a great show. And like I said, I mean, it's just really cool to watch. Kind of watch them let their hair down, knowing that, you know, what we see on the news and in you know, in the media about what these guys are doing to keep us safe and to help, whether it's, you know, fishermen or you know, somebody on a tanker or something. So it's really cool event.
Love it. And then, of course, want to talk to you a little bit about a job fair coming up that's going to be held at the Hyannis Youth and Community Center. When is this job fair happening?
Yeah, that's on Monday, May 1st from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and it will be hosted here in the HYCC gymnasium. There'll actually be a little overflow into the game room. I think we have north of 60 booths that will be set up for employers to come and kind of let people know what they have available, and an opportunity for the general public to come and check it out and see, you know, what kind of jobs are available, you know, both summer positions and year-round positions.
Now, is there a fee to attend this event?
No, there is not. There's no fee to attend. The public, everyone is welcome.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for telling us all about that.
Yeah.
And then I'm excited to talk about this topic matter because it means summer's right around the corner. Just a reminder to everyone, it is springtime and beach sticker sales are actually going to start in the lobby of the HYCC May 1st.
Yeah,
I can't believe
Monday.
it.
Yeah, Monday, May 1st is the walk-up beach permit sales here at the HYCC. So, yeah, the lobby will be a busy, bustling place starting on Monday, and the beach sticker sales will go pretty much right through August. So, you know, you just need to, if you're a Barnstable resident, just bring your registration, and we have the paperwork here and some pens to fill it out, and we'll get you in and out and on your way and out to the beach.
Awesome. And what is the cost for a beach sticker this year?
Oh, gosh, I believe it is the same as last year, and I want to say it's $40.
I think that's my guess, too.
Yeah, but you know,
we'll
I'm
check
gonna
on
have
that
to check
just to
that.
make sure.
Yeah, please check that.
We'll check on that just to make sure.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for chatting with us today, Joe, letting us know everything that's happening at the Hyannis Youth and Community Center. We really appreciate it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for letting me talk about it, and hopefully we'll see you whether it's this weekend for the hockey or maybe on Monday for your beach sticker.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Sounds good. You'll see me there soon.
Great.
Thanks so much, Joe. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Our guest today, General Manager of the Hyannis Youth and Community Center. Director Joe Izzo. Now let's find out what's happening around town in today's community calendar. Author of The Finest Hours, Michael Togis, will talk about his new book in West Barnstable tonight. The book, So Close to Home, tells the story of an American family's World War II story of survival and the U-boat that attacked them. The events take place tonight at 7 at the West Barnstable Community Building. There is a suggested donation of $15 for that event. The Hyannis Public Library will be celebrating Star Wars Day next Wednesday. Children and their families are invited to celebrate by dressing up as their favorite Star Wars character, making a lightsaber, and some other really fun Star Wars crafts. They have Jedi Knight training and a lot of other fun activities as well. The free event will be held Wednesday, May 30th from 4 to 5 p.m. at the Hyannis Public Library. There are no board, committee, or commission meetings today. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back Monday with another great show. On Monday, we'll chat with Superintendent of Schools Meg Mayo Brown. We'll find out what's happening at Cape Cod Community College with Communications Director Michael Gross, and so much more. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mannel.